Hi, I'm Hillary Atkin, and I'm thrilled to welcome Kelly AuCoin from Billions for Hillary's Happy Hour. From LA to Brooklyn, Kelly, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
I mean, we're
Guess what
melting a
I
little
did?
bit right now. I don't know how it is there, but it's like 96 degrees, heat index about 105. And I
I'm
don't have an
telling.
AC in this room, so if I start to sweat, that's why.
Okay, we'll try to fix that later, Kelly.
If I look a little shiny. Yeah, okay.
Well, the seventh episode of Billions, season 5, abruptly ending the season for now. It was a real cliffhanger with Axe threatening to destroy Michael Prince after he manipulated Wendy and Taylor into taking a big loss. And then, of course, there was you guys taking Vigilantrix. And of course, Bill Stearn took it with no hesitation. So, what is it like playing the guy who always has an edge and always gets the inside information?
Uh, it's a blast. I mean, I couldn't be more diametrically opposite to that guy. It's really fun to play someone who is completely unlike yourself. And I mean, I'm not a wallflower or anything, but I'm certainly not the Ayn Randian Bible thumping, uh, ultra competitive kill or be killed capitalist that he is. But it's fun, it's fun to misbehave as an actor. It's fun to say some of the. Can I swear on the show?
Of course.
Okay, it's fun to. I mean, this isn't bad. I'm just, but I just did a network thing recently. So when they were like, okay, go back. We have to re-record that now. Um, but it's fun to say some of the shit that they give me. He's just so brazen and so in your face, and I always describe him as a blunt instrument. And one of the fun things, though, I would say about this season is that he slips a little bit. He's not quite on his game a little bit, to the extent that when Bonnie proposes, let's go have some fun in your minivan, he's like, maybe tomorrow. It's like, what? Are you insane? But it's great. I love this character. I wouldn't
Well,
love him as a person, I don't think, if I met him, but I love playing him.
yeah, he's a very cool character to watch. Well, you brought up Bonnie, but let's talk about your relationship with other axe cappers like
Sure.
Soros and Mafi, for instance, who have
Yeah.
been enemies and then friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so Steve Kunkin, who plays Ari Spiros, and we didn't do a scene together for the first 2 years of the show until he came over to Axe Cap. And actually, he and I knew each other just through the theater world here in New York, but we didn't. We had not even done so much as a reading together. And then all of a sudden they put us together, and we both were like, "Oh, it kind of makes sense." The oil and water kind of attraction, the Felix and Oscar from The Odd Couple type of connection, or lack of connection. And we had so much fun. The day that I destroyed his car,
Right.
his Porsche, we had half a day filming that out in New Jersey, just us and the crew and the director, and we were so giddy. It was like what, when you're kids, like little kids who get excited about something, and so they sort of lose. That they can't quite breathe. I'm so excited about this. Like, we kept talking about, can you believe they're letting us do this? I'm gonna smash a car, And that sort of became that. In the subsequent days of shooting together, became we just became. He's one of my best friends now, and we check in with each other all the time. We've checked in. We've had a lot of FaceTime check-ins on during the pandemic and the shutdown. So that's been great. And he's just a great actor. So he's fun, and we have very different styles. So it's fun to play ball. It's very kinetic. There's some magic, I think, when we get scenes together that have some meat. And Dan Soder, who plays Mafi, and I have been around from the very beginning. So that's fun. We've had 5 years of developing a relationship. And early on, before the Axe Cappers had a lot to do, I don't know this for sure, but I think that the writers and the showrunners and everything, I think they were trying to figure out what to do with a lot of these characters, or some of these secondary characters. And so you would toss little things in every once in a while, because you got a sense of maybe what might be a fun sort of relationship. And if you even notice, like in season 1, Dollar Bill and Maphie slap hands, like when I'm about to go in and get berated by Bobby, but after coming back triumphant from not the Kaiser Soze when the crowd is chanting, and I didn't break to Chuck Rhodes. So I think he and I kind of thought we were going to maybe be set up as buddies, and it just didn't go that way. But they've made up by season 5, and it's fun. So anyway, that's my long-winded answer. I have so much to say about each one of these actors. I love them to death. Daniel Isaac, who plays Ben Kim, and Sarah Stiles, who plays Bonnie. It's just a great group of human beings. I feel lucky to be able to go to work with these people. It's part of the reason I miss work so much. And for a show, I always say this too, for a show that's so much about human toxicity and just asshole-ish behavior, you could not have a group of people whose actual personalities and hearts and souls are in as much inverse proportion to the bile that they spew on our show. If that makes sense. Lovely humans. I really love working with these people.
Well, you brought up one of the cornerstones of Bill Stearn's character, and that is when he was arrested by Chuck Rhodes, he didn't spill. Right. And, that was an incredible episode. And one of my other favorites that you had a starring role in was Chicken Town. So I want to hear what that whole thing was like.
There have been a few episodes where I'm reading the script when it drops in my room, in one of our rooms, for the first time, and Carolyn immediately knows it's going to be something interesting for me because I kind of yelp in the other room and I come running. She hears my footsteps and she's like, "Oh, that means he's going to read me something that he thinks is fun." That happened with the fake fight in season 1. It happened with the boxing. It happened with the smash of the car, and it happened with the Chicken Town episode. It was the first time I don't go off set all that much. I'm usually an axe cap guy. So, I mean, just from a personal point of view, it was really fun. I love being on location. So it was fun to do that. And it was mainly me. It was I always love that they trust me as the character's grown to not carry an entire episode, but to carry a story arc. And I got to sing Springsteen on national television. Bruce Springsteen, I grew up, he's still one of my heroes. And I got to sing Atlantic City. It was just, it doesn't get much better than that.
Well, the music in the show is so fantastic. I know I've mentioned to you, we have to have a soundtrack album, but kind of like what you were saying when you yelp, when you read the script, the dialogue is so brilliant. And even if a viewer doesn't get all the pop culture references, like for instance, in this last episode, Pop had Jenko. I had to look that up. That's obscure, to me obscure, Sonny Corleone reference from The Godfather. But I mean, just everything makes sense within the context of the show. And Brian, David, and Andrew in the writer's room are so brilliant. I mean, how do you feel just when you get the scripts? It's like, whoa.
I look up a lot. I will admit I look up a lot. I feel very proud. I feel like one of the cool kids when I pick up one of the references without having to look it up, but those are few and far between. I think a couple things, like I had to say, I think the beginning of season 3, I had to say something like, "I need this to flow like the Kankamangas Rapids," and I was like, I'm assuming that's a place. So I looked it up and whatever, that's not even I love that reference, and I love trying to figure out how Dollar Bill would know. Like, okay, why the Kankamangas Rapids? And it's fun to say, certainly, which is part of what they do really well. It's not just the dialogue. What's brilliant about their dialogue is not just that it's fun to figure out the references. It's also everything is very character driven too, but it's just kinetically it's like the way it sounds, like Kankamangas Rapids. It's like, that's fun to say just rhythmically. Which kind of leads me to my other thing. It's like Shakespeare. You don't need to know. We just listened to Richard III, the Public Theater here in New York, just did a co-production on the radio with WNYC, the public radio station here. And it was 4 nights, an hour each of Richard II. And it was brilliant. I know Shakespeare and I perform Shakespeare a lot, but I still miss a lot of the references. I don't follow. It's not my, we don't speak that way. So if you're not immersed in it, you miss some things. But as long as you surrender to that and let it flow, you don't miss what it's about. You might miss some specific references, but it's, the whole is better for all those details being there. Do you know what I mean? And so that's one of the things I love about these guys.
Well, Kelly, talking about all your theater experience, you really must miss the bright lights on Broadway going dark. And you've been really great about calling out all the related professions from theaters all over the country that have also had to go dark because of the pandemic. What's your outlook on, when theater comes back?
I mean, I don't know. I have optimistic optimistic hopes, not to be redundant or repetitive. But look, I mean, the thing, and this is just what I hear. This is not based on a ton of research today or anything like that. But what I hear is that the earliest is going to be for Broadway anyway, and that's probably going to be the sort of template, I would imagine, for New York. The earliest will be January of next year. I think it's possible that that's still a little optimistic, but maybe not. And look, I've got TV came to New York en masse much more recently than people might think. It's only been about 10 years or so, I would say, that you could be on a show and live here, live at home. It used to be that if you wanted to be a series regular on a show, you'd probably have to go to LA or even Chicago or Vancouver or something like that. And now those of us who came to New York, because most of us that came to New York, yeah, we wanted to do TV and film, but the thing we couldn't live without was theater. And so we came here, and the whatever TV and film we could get would be, to a certain extent, gravy. And the nice thing is that in the last 10 years, that sort of has been changed. Production companies came here, and there was a whole group of talent that hadn't been oversaturated. So there were a lot of new faces that you'd see. Most of the shows work on the 10 to 12 episode model. So you still have half a year to do theater. I've been able to do a piece of theater, a play a year since I started working in the Americans. And so that's been great. It means that my community is still ultimately and essentially the theater community. And there are a lot of people who have either made the choice not to do much TV because they want to do theater and they're making a fine living doing theater, or they just haven't had one lucky break like I got with House of Cards. And so they don't have this sort of, I have a little bit of safety now, just a little bit. It's not going to be for a long time, but a little bit. And they don't. And those are the people. That's the community that's a part of my community that I worry about the most. And the crews and the stage managers and the concessions, the people who work concessions and the ushers and the restaurants around those theaters. So this isn't really answering your question. It's just got me off on a diatribe, but or a lament, I guess. But yeah, none of us know. None of us know. I do know that we've been approved to enter phase 4 of the reopening. I don't know what that means. And even though some production, TV production, is included in that, I think the general idea is that even if we can go back, we have to really assess whether or not we should. And I'm glad that for the most part, people seem to be putting people's health over everything else.
Well, any word on ramping up production on Billions in light of the stage 4 that they just announced recently?
No, not yet. That doesn't mean it won't be coming. But again, from the people I've talked to, the main question is we want to be we want to make sure we should be doing it, not just that we can, and that and I'm glad for that. They're not making it a political issue. They're not making it simply an economic issue, although of course we're all thinking about that. But they're thinking about it just in terms of keeping us all fucking safe. and alive. We've got hundreds of people, minimum 100 people in a room, like a lot more than that actually, but just to say 100 people in a room for every Axe Cap Day. I worry about background actors because we have like 75. I mean, I'm making this number up, but I'm going to estimate like 75 to 100 extras, background actors on that set. And I would guess that that's going to be where people try to cut money, because I'm sure networks are losing money right now. So I worry about that a lot. We've got some people, some of the background actors have been with us since day one, and they're part of the family, and so I worry about all this. But I guess the shorter answer is no, I don't know yet. But we will finish the season. We are definitely finishing the season. This episode 7 was a mid-season finale, not a season finale.
Right. So presumably we will have 5 more episodes in this season. And then we will also see you in a couple episodes on the Bold Type as well.
Yeah, I did. I think it was, I just appeared in season 4. I'm Jane's dad. Love working with those people, that group, that crew, and that cast has been great. And a couple of the writers that I've met have been great. I love working on that show. It's really been fun. And it's a different kind of character. I think I worked on episode 4 and like episode 14 or 15 or something. I cried in both episodes. It's a very dollar bill thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, it's happy hour. So
Hey.
I want to propose a toast to you and your continued success, and all of your castmates, crew, theater, television, and I know you're doing some films too. I want to thank you again for joining me. It's been
Thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure. Bottoms up.
You too. Bye.
And you be safe as well.
I will. Bye.
Bye.